What's up? Hey, Rock, what's going on, bud? Good to see you. Hey, hey, Deborah, Sally, good to see you, everybody. Yeah, guys, I'm just gonna jump into this. I'm gonna get this daily update done, and got some stuff to talk about here too. Fireball over Brazil. I think a lot of us have probably already seen it, but I'll show it to you guys again, and we will take a look at that and see what we get. So yeah, after this daily update, I may come back on shortly thereafter with a longer live stream, just if you guys want to chat or whatever. We'll go over some stuff that we're looking at, some things that are going on. But for those who want just a straight daily update, this is what this is for. I've been getting hammered pretty good for having these longer streams. I've been trying to cut them down just for the daily update, and I'll come back on again. But we are going to jump into it right now. E-Rock, you're in there, bud. I really appreciate you. Anybody else that's a mod that pops in there, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody that's here. Jamie, Turdo, James, Russ. Good to see everybody. Space Medic. Love y'all. So anyway, hold it down for me there, E-Rock, and make sure everything's cool in there. Appreciate you, man. All right, guys. We'll just jump into this. All right. Schumann resonance. Not a whole lot again, guys. We got this little thing that happened yesterday or 2 days ago, back on the 3rd. I realize it's almost the 5th, so it's been almost 2 days ago when that happened. This is a little bit of an uptick. Not really much to really talk about there, though. It's not a big spike. Everything's just kind of calm, when it comes to the Schumann right now. Good, bad, or indifferent, don't really know. But this is what we got. Not really a whole lot to talk about there, guys. Just pretty normal. Space weather. We're going to talk about this for a second because we are... I'm going to show you this first before we start anything. You see this right here, this little uptick that we're going to see. You can see up here. Anybody that watched yesterday, you can see how this thing is more drastic. The reason why is this was reading between 4 and, well, actually it was like 3 and 700. Okay? Now it's a smaller range, which is going to make any kind of a smaller increase is going to look larger because of that. This is the same exact, basically it's saying the same thing as it did yesterday. It's no different. Okay? Not much. Just a little bit though. Now remember, we're right here. Okay, so according to this, we are actually already starting to see an increase in the density, right? So we're going to see if that is actually the case here in just a second. But here's the velocity. We are going to have an uptick within the next couple days to a peak of around 600, it says. If that does materialize and it does happen, yeah, that means that we're going to have some, possibility for some geomagnetic storms. Or at least active conditions, more active conditions. So that's what that means. But density can actually cause it just as much, if not more sometimes. A lot of studies being done on that right now. Here is the actual ACE data. And what we're looking at here, the orange is the density. Oops. Okay. The blue is a phi angle. Up here is the BZ. Now, what we're looking for up here on the BZ, just to make it really plain and simple, anytime this goes into the negative, and we're mainly looking at the red line, okay? So if it drops below that 0 mark, that means that the door is open for energy to spew from the sun, basically. That's really what that's kind of telling us. At a very, very basic level. There's a whole lot of technicalities of what's going on with that, what this actually is, and what this is showing you. But I would encourage you guys to research that on your own, because it's too much to try to explain in a short stream. But that's essentially that's what that means. If that goes into the negative, better chance of more activity. Phi angle, that thing does its little flip all the time. Whenever it does do its flip, we do usually see a little jolt on our magnetosphere. Okay, sometimes it'll even put us in a storm level every great once in a while. Okay, especially if we're already having other weather, right? Again, the orange is the density, yellow is the velocity, and green is the temperature. And we're talking about plasma here, guys, charged particles that come from the sun to get here, right? And, you know, they travel along our connection lines to the sun, and they spiral along that line. That's the road they take. It's not like wind just blowing out haphazardly. I know they call it solar wind, but I would encourage everybody to go back and watch my playlist on that. It's just a minute-and-a-half video explains right down to the point what solar wind actually is. Just straight to the point. So, it's real quick, but it is informative. Anybody that doesn't really know exactly what solar wind is, I would encourage that. Or just Google it. You don't have to watch my playlist. I'm just saying, I made it easier for everybody by doing that. So, anyway, we got the temperature here too. All these are kind of reacting kind of very similar, and that's really what we would expect. When they don't, then that's when we really look at it really, really strongly. But right now, we got the solar wind speed is on a slow tick down. Now you see this right here, how it looks like it might be trying to get back, you know, go on back up some. An increase looks like it's on the way, right? Like it might be underway already. But we have to look at the range over here. Like I said before, this is only a 60-degree range. I cannot tell you the last time I've seen such a small range on this ACE data. What that means is that even though this looks like it's very variable, like it's jumping from higher to lower, it's really not. Usually this is between 300 and 500 at least. That's a 200 kilometer difference. Right now we're just looking at a 60. So it's showing you this, and it really shouldn't be doing this. It's really kind of deceiving. But we got the general idea. It's on a general downturn, but you know, then we got your density that seems like it's not hardly moving at all, and it's really not. But if we're going to go off of the Enlil model, look here, we're right here in time. So we should be seeing an increase in density, and it may be. Let me explain. We don't have the latest readings, so whatever's happened between here and here, we just don't know yet. Okay. So there could be an increase, and it does look like it might be starting to increase on all three of these. But it's hard to tell when they got the range so small. You know, on any other chart here, this would not even look, it would look like a straight line, which is really more representative of what it actually is, because it's not varying very much. It's holding very, very steady. So I don't like it when they do that, because it is deceiving for people that don't really look at this a whole lot. They need to understand that that's what you need to look at first. I've made that mistake myself. Had to come out and do a correction video once because I thought it was really jumping around, and I did not look over here to see what the range was. That was my mistake, but you know, that happens. I get it, but I want to help everybody not make that same mistake. Solar X-ray flux. The X-rays. And those come from solar flares and sunspots that are facing us. Very, very, you know, very, very quiet. And matter of fact, it's too quiet. So, yeah, take that for what it's worth. We really need to get some stuff going on here, because if we don't, there's going to be cosmic rays and everything else getting in. It's already happening, but you can see geomagnetic activity is actually... You know, the X-ray flux more so affects ham radio operators, guys, okay? It affects communication on ham radios. We need some of that there to help propagate the signal. This here, geomagnetic activity, is what we look at for cosmic rays. When it gets low and stays there, more cosmic rays get in. So, but we're going back down to very, very low conditions here, guys. But my point here is, if this is to be true, this stuff should start an uptick very, very shortly. If this model's correct. And I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be at this point, because you can pretty much trust this about 2 or 3 days out. I don't see that this model, you know, because it gets information, data all the time, and it updates a lot. So, you know, it's still seeing something here that's saying, hey, we're, you know, should be getting this kind of an uptick in our density, and then right behind the density uptick, we're going to get a velocity uptick for a couple days. And it looks like it might hang in there for about a day and then start to fall back off. Then it actually looks like it levels back out, starts going the other way. So, you know, that is what it is. And again, guys, this is actually more representative of what's going on. Look how flat this line is. This graph really doesn't change, okay, as far as its range. So this is pretty representative of what's actually going on. Everything is just pretty straight line right now. But this is what's showing us that we're probably starting to see the beginnings of that increase. Okay, so let me show you. I'm going to hit play on all these and we'll watch them. Okay, you see how we're dancing around already. Let me bring that back to the beginning. You see that? That's you know, low speed, okay? See how it's hanging right around 0? That's what these colors mean. The whole screen was kind of like that. So what's happening there is that the wind speed from the sun and the density got pretty low. And that allowed us to push out a little bit further. Our bow shock, you see how it kind of went flat? That means that we were pushing out more so than what we typically do. Usually it's more arced than that. Okay? So watch this as we run through this. And you'll see as we'll start getting our bend back because we start getting energy again. Start getting more solar wind. See that? And we'll let it rotate through one more time here so you guys can see it when it's like we're pushing out further than what we usually do. Here it goes. See that? See how it's kind of just covered the whole screen? So that's what you're seeing there, okay? We're able to push back when it's not so, you know, strong. But there you go here with the density. This is going to be more representative of what's actually going on. Watch this when this flips over. See how it's almost all white? That means that's very, very low density. Now here comes some of that more of that density. That's why we start picking up again. And that's exactly what that Enlil model was showing us. Okay? So it looks to be like that thing's going to be correct, and we're going to have to watch the conditions, right? Again, this is the density. You can see, right, where it's going to be an uptick there. Then we're going to see an uptick in speed afterwards, according to this. So we'll have to watch our geomagnetic activity level and see if it goes up into active areas or storm areas even. Here's the pressure. You can see how we have almost no pressure. Let me pause that, bring that back to the beginning. You see this? Hardly any pressure at all right there. You know, no wind, no density pretty much. So watch this. You'll see it start building back up. That means we're getting more solar weather. Our bow shock is always there. It just, you couldn't really see it a whole lot because the stuff in front of it and behind it were pretty much the same. So it made it, this graph kind of made it look like it disappeared. And I've explained at length on why that could never happen. And if it does happen, how we're not going to be having this conversation. Yeah. A lot of things would happen way before that goes completely away. We wouldn't be here. That's all I'm going to say. I've explained that a lot. But you can see how we started getting some more solar energy after a very, very quiet few hours there. Okay. Here's the radiation belts here. First, the coronal holes. There are none. Right here, guys. So, yeah. There's no expectations of anything right now as far as solar wind. So, you know, here in the next 3 or 4 days, after we get past this other little bump we're going to get, it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing much solar activity for a minute. But that changes on a dime. You know, sunspots, coronal holes, and all that stuff can pop up anytime it needs to or wants to. Like, again, I've seen sunspots pop up and go away within 6 hours and blow a flare at the same time. It's crazy how that happens sometimes, but it does. Then that just goes back to say that the sun doesn't have to have a sunspot to blow a flare at us. So, but here's the radiation belts. This is at the 50 level, okay, 50 keV, and this is at the 4,000. So I've got you down low here on the left, and I got you up really, really high over here, so you get a good idea of the whole area, okay? So what we're doing here, watch on the left, and it's not really too much to talk about here, okay? Now, if you see this little appendage, I did notice that, and when I was looking at some of the other levels, like this one over here, watch the high one. It's going to be more evident up here. See that? How it looked like something snuck in there? You know, looks like it bled right into where it needed to go, where it was trying to go. So, you know, it's not a big deal. It's just that was, if you look at that right there, you see how that's kind of, everything's kind of tilted down this way it looks to be. We see that quite often. Our magnetics and stuff, they tilt like that all the time. It doesn't mean anything drastic is happening. I used to make it more of a big deal than what it actually is. And I didn't mean to do that. It was a mistake on my part. And that's why I've calmed down on that a little bit, because I've come to learn that, you know, our magnetics, they move back and forth how they need to. You know, if it didn't do that and we took a hit from the side or at an angle, it wouldn't be good for us. Okay. So I got you here. Again, this is SDO, and what this is the sun at different light angstroms. So basically, we're looking at different gases. Okay. We only have a certain amount in our visible spectrum, and that's why they do this. This 171 is not in our visible spectrum, I don't believe. And what they do is, this is able to see the 171, and they just assign it a color. That's it. That's so we can see it. The 171 on another graph is actually blue. So, you know, this isn't, the 171 angstrom isn't actually yellow. Okay, they just put that there so we can see it. They have to give it a color, right? So you're looking at a specific gas here, and that's what you're seeing. So let me do this real quick. I'm going to pull this over here on the front, right in the middle, because there is an ejection happening right now. I seen it a few minutes ago when I was setting this up. It's going to be up here in this area. Actually, I'll back that off another little bit. Okay, we'll leave it right there. I'll push play and we'll watch it. Just watch right in here. You'll see it. Oh, excuse me. Starting to happen. Bam. See that? How it lifted off? Believe it or not, that was actually kind of from up here. That's how far these filaments and these things will stretch. Okay? But again, it was there was some activity anyway, even down here. And then you've seen that, right? I do believe that probably some of that left the sun. Not all of it, I don't think, but some of it did. Is it coming at us? Doesn't look like it is, but I can't say 100%. But it does look like it's going almost off the backside, kind of at an angle that way. Because this is from our view, all right? This is as if we walked outside and looked up at the sun. Here's that active area that we watched all the way through. It was a sunspot a couple different times on the front side here. It hasn't crested the limb yet, though, okay? So it's still giving us some solar X-ray. And once that thing crests the limb, if something else doesn't appear, you can look for this solar X-ray flux to tank down even more. Okay? And we really don't want that. So anyway, you got that. We'll look at it in a couple different angstroms here real quick. I'm just going to hit play on these and we'll scan through them. That way you guys get a chance to see it. You know, once you see it on one, you're going to see it on the other, typically. Let's zoom back out all the way here. Pull that one back over. I'm just going to go through and hit play on all these. Okay? And you guys can see it. You'll see it activity. And, you know, this is different gases again, guys. You know, there aren't actually these colors. They just assign them these colors. That's it. It's showing you different gases. Which is why, you know, when somebody says, man, you shouldn't be using a filter if you're seeing things. Well, hold on a minute. We can only see in just a certain amount, a very small piece of the light spectrum. Okay? So if we didn't, it doesn't, you know, just because you don't see something doesn't mean that it ain't there. And I know that a lot of people don't like to accept that, but it is the truth. Okay? That's empirical fact. You know, there's certain gases we can't see, but we can smell them, right? It's the same thing. So that's why when, you know, it really is kind of, it's a hard pill to swallow when somebody tries to tell us that, you know, don't put a filter on that, and you know, you wouldn't see it unless you put a filter on that. Well, of course we wouldn't have, because it's made out of different stuff that we can't see. So it's just, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, guys, there's that. Now here's another look at our magnetosphere. Okay, this is again, you know, sun's off to the right. Now, what are we gonna? Let me pause these because it'll slow everything down unless I don't. Me. Hold on a minute, guys. Sorry about that. Okay. Anyway, sun's off to the right, and as you can see, we're still dancing around, right? Look, do you see all that right there? That's some pretty good energy, you know? So, as we keep moving, I mean, it's definitely not something that we haven't never seen before, but check out this last capture. You see how that red built up real quick in the front? Okay, so you know what we'll do? Let me refresh just that one, and let's see if it gives us anything more to look at here. So it looks as though we're starting to get the beginnings of that density rise. Okay, because you can see how the red got a little bit more intense out here. Here's the spaghetti string model. Not much to show you here. I'll just play it. You guys can watch it. There's not a whole lot to talk about there, guys, or I would. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on that because there's really not a whole lot to say. I do want to address this one, though. Somebody was emailing me about something about somebody saying that the solar wind had reversed or was coming from the wrong direction. That isn't necessarily what this is trying to represent, guys. If that's what you guys are talking about, I'm not really quite sure. If this is what that email was about. But you can see the arrows. You know, that is the direction that the wind is traveling. But, and I've said this before, yes, it would take, you know, a little bit extra oomph for the arrow way back here behind the Earth to push that direction. Okay? Because you're pushing up against the solar wind. But it's not impossible. It happens actually quite often. It's not, you know, and here's the thing. You can go back to the beginning of when this graph was shown. Like, I can't remember exactly how old this satellite is, but we're talking 15 years probably, if not further back. And it's been doing it the whole time. So it's nothing new. Okay? That's what I want to point out. When we look at this is when we see stuff like this. This is kind of strange looking little patterns. You can see swirling going on here. Right? But at the same time, that can even be explained by this. It hits us here, the solar wind does, and this is kind of typical, really. And we get what we call a rebound effect, and it'll come back in. The Earth just pretty much grabs it like that. Okay? We got to remember, we're like a magnet too. So those are charged particles. Just because they come and they start moving in kind of crazy directions every once in a while, doesn't mean it's a big deal. Okay? But sometimes it is. I would say that. It is sometimes. Depending on what's actually happening. You just got to understand how this works. You know, again, we're a magnet, pretty much. Charged particles, positive and negative, attract to that. So as they come through here, you know, they do what they do. You know, the Earth's going to kind of grab it, just like a sun does a sun diver, right? So, you know, when you see arrows back here doing, you know, weird directions, that's pretty normal, guys. We see it all the time. So don't freak out over nothing like that. I'm not really sure where that came from. I'm not sure why, because it really isn't doing a whole lot here. It's not really, you know, there is a little bit, but not much. I've seen it where this, you know, way back in the day, back in, I can't remember exactly what year it was, our whole thing flipped around. Okay, our bow shock went to the back and was protecting us from the back. So whatever we were getting from the back was actually more important than what was going on from the sun. That right there. That is what we look at, and that's what we look for. So I got an email saying, hey, did the solar wind reverse? And that kind of confused me because I didn't know exactly what they meant. So if you're talking about these arrows, no, the solar wind didn't reverse. Okay, we might be getting some activity a little bit from behind from something, but it could come from a lot of different things. We get energy from outside our own solar system all the time, and it could come from any direction. Also, something we need to keep in mind that hardly anybody ever addresses this is, see our bow shock out here? This is our magnetopause straight behind us. So, stuff right behind us here inside our magnetopause, it would be easier for it to move towards us because we're blocking half of the stuff that it would have to push against. You see what I'm saying there? We're blocking the stuff from the sun right here behind us. That's what we're doing here. So when things are coming up, it's easier for things to kind of come in from behind than what it would be if it was way outside of our magnetic field or magnetopause. All right, if this same wind was way over here and it was pushing against the sun, then we might have some issues, but not back here. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that when these things push this direction that it can't give us issues, because it can, and it does. We should look at what's going on back here. I'm not saying we shouldn't. We most certainly should. Because if stuff is actually happening back here, and it has in the past, we need to be paying attention to that because something's causing it. You know what I mean? But to address the solar wind, that email really just had me kind of like confused. I don't know what they're actually asking me here, if that's what they're saying. I hope I answered your question, whoever emailed that to me. Anyway, here's a magnetopause from this one. This is the Australian model. Let's back that up to the 4th. Okay. This is going to bounce around a little bit again, but nothing much is happening here, guys. This isn't something crazy. I've seen this thing, when we get low speed and density out in front, we will push out. Our bow shock will actually come way out here. Okay? Because it doesn't have to be that close to protect us. It's not getting pushed on. See how we kind of stretched out there a little bit? And, I've seen it jump way out here to the point where this yellow line was completely off of the screen. You couldn't even see it. It was past its grid. I mean, I couldn't even tell how far it went out. It didn't say. It didn't show us because it disappeared. So when that happens, and then we get hit, it'll push it back. But, yeah. Here is seeds. I'm going to show you this sundiver one more time. I think that was pretty cool. Again, whatever that is a comet. People were asking me, what is a sundiver? It's a comet that the sun just grabs. It grabs it because it can't make it. Sometimes these things are strong and big enough and on an orbital path that they will get slingshot around the sun. Okay, like a Halley's Comet. I think that's every 75 years that thing comes around. I seen it when I was a kid. I think I was like 14 or 15 when it came around the first time for me. I may never ever see it again. I'll probably be gone by the time it comes back around again. But it's in an orbit around the sun, and as it comes in, stuff will get blowed off of it. Okay, it's a big ball of ice. Remember that, gas and ice. So as it gets closer to the sun, you'll see more stuff blow off, create that tail, that coma tail. But the more times it does it, the smaller it will probably get. Eventually, it's not going to be able to hold up. It's going to be a long time from now, but eventually something will grab it and it'll be gone. But that's what you're seeing here. It's just a smaller comet. It gets too close to the sun, and the sun just sucked it right in. And it's gone. I don't even think it made it to the sun. Because if you look over here on the right, the white circle is actually the surface. That's the occulter, so we can, block the main light of the sun to get a capture. So as you watch this, it even kind of disappears. Watch it. See? It didn't even, I don't think it made it to the sun. I think the solar wind just ate it up. Power outages. We're not seeing none. This is new, guys. Okay? we were seeing a bunch over here because of wildfires. Those have started to calm down. They're getting, you know, all that under control now, and nothing really is happening. But we do have tropical weather down here that could be, you know, blasting up in here and giving us some issues later. Here's the earthquakes. This was the most recent right here in Alaska. It was a 2.8. We got a couple down here in Tonga. Just happened a few, you know, a couple hours ago. Nothing real big on the earthquake front. We got one over here in Kazakhstan. That is kind of in a strange spot. Uh-oh. You guys see that? What's that? Oh, we just had one right out in the middle of the Atlantic. And I'm sitting here talking to you. That's kind of crazy. Now that's a good chance to show this to you guys here. Look right here. You see that where it says 10 kilometers? It automatically sets it at a 10 kilometer depth until it figures out what it actually is depth-wise. Okay? But that's actually a pretty substantial one, guys. Right out in the middle, man. It's not in an odd position because obviously you can see it's on a boundary line, fault line or whatever here, right? But yeah, that's that's a pretty sizable one. It's kind of odd that it just popped up when we were sitting here talking. You guys seen it happen? I mean, look at the time. Yeah, I mean it literally just yeah, that's a what, 11:27? No, that would be 9:27. So like 45 minutes ago, that's when that happened. So, but yeah, there's your earthquake update. You know, we're getting, this is spaceweather.com, and you see the pink. Remember what happens when we see the pink. That means that the charged particles got further down into our atmosphere. They were bouncing off of nitrogen and not just oxygen up here where the green are. Okay? So that means it could have been from a crack, or it just could have got in, you know, well, it even explains it again. It says a minor crack. That's probably pretty accurate. Okay? I think they call that the McPherson effect. He's the one that discovered the cracks during the equinox seasons. So they gave, you know, obviously it got named after him. Near Earth objects, we were talking about that Brazil. You know, that's what I showed you guys there on the thumbnail. There's really not much to show, guys. You guys can Google it. And, well, I guess we could go look at it real quick. Let's go look at it real quick because I did put it in there. Just let me key it up here real quick. And there's a bunch of videos on this, okay? This is something, that's why I wasn't going to go too much into it, but I did want everybody to see it. Okay? We'll push play here as soon as it lets me. Obviously, that's bright. You know, they took that capture right there. They filtered through the actual video and found the brightest picture they could have there and showed it to you guys. Here's one. This is the same one. Okay, obviously you can see it. I mean, it's a substantial one. Here's the one that we would probably want to look at. This shows us a bunch of different views. It's from Brahman. Okay, go check these guys out. They're the ones that posted this. Give them some credit on this one. This was pretty good work putting this together because it's multiple different views from different spots. Okay, it gives us a pretty good look at the whole thing. That one was over there on the right. I'm not sure if you guys seen that or not, but it's there. This is pretty much just going to be a big bright light on this one, I think. It popped in there a little bit. This is an all sky cam. I'm going to pause this for a minute. In my opinion, they need to take these things and throw them away. I used to be all about them things, guys, and I've come to learn that those things, they're so deceptive in what they show us. The fisheye lens itself causes so many distortions that it's hard to filter through any of it and actually find something on them things anymore that you can't debunk. It's really hard to go, you know, I'm not saying that sometimes things don't show up on there, but for my, you know, early on in my channel, matter of fact, I went back and erased some of them because the things I was saying on there were just so wrong. And I didn't want you guys to get, you know, the wrong information by leaving those videos there. I did come out with corrections, but that wasn't enough for me. I had to get rid of those things because I don't want people to think that that's actually what's going on. And again, I don't want to say we can't see stuff on those, because we can. Those are designed, guys, for like pilots to see weather. They're not designed to be looking out in space. That's not what they're there for. So what they're good for their purpose, but they're not, because the lenses and stuff, they're exposed to the weather constantly. I'm talking like extreme weather. So there's always condensation buildup. There's always dirt. I've got a picture of a freaking gall on a bird on it. It's crazy. That just tells you they're out there, and a lot of times they don't get maintenance either. They get left alone. But yeah, so that fireball there, that fireball stuff there was pretty cool, I thought. You guys go check that out for yourself if you want. So yeah, and then guys, Dutch did a video on this. I'm not going to go too much into detail on this particular video, but what he's talking about is this, okay? Right there. You see that? Okay? There's always questions on what these things are. Actually, like I said before, I'm with him on this one, to thinking that this is probably a beam of some sort. I'm not going to say the name, because if I do, you know what happens to the algorithm. It'll just smack the crap out of it. But what's interesting about this is, you see the shape here? Now watch a few minutes later. Happened again over here. So it was over here, and then it went over here. That is the exact same, basically angle of attack here. What's different, you see how this one's kind of more to a right angled, and this is kind of curving a little bit. It's still a straight line, but it's curving. Now if we look at this one, if I seen it right, you see how it's not so much slanted? It's more straight up and down, and this one here definitely is not curving anymore. It's straight. So I'm not sure what this actually is. I'm kind of on board with what Dutch was saying. You guys can go watch his video. I'm not going to go into that. He did a lot of work on that. He deserves the traffic. But I was looking at this, and there's some other things that, maybe somebody can relay this to him. Something that I was looking at while he was doing this. I just thought, well, let's go down further south and see what we can see if it's happening anywhere else, right? So as I did this, I start running this through, and there it is right there. But watch this. Okay, it's not doing it now. Maybe I got the wrong view. Okay, there it is. You guys see how the sun, because of the angle, you can see the sun coming through. Watch. I thought it might have been the moon, so I went back and checked, and the moon's on the other side of the planet. So it's not the moon. Okay, I'll start here, and then watch what happens. Do you see how that it kind of went that way, which was kind of odd? I'm not sure why it did that. Okay? Because remember, the Earth's rotating, that way. So the light should actually be going the opposite direction. It should be going from right to left. And when this light went from left to right, that was odd. Okay? Because that was backwards. Okay, now I'm going to go forward. Watch. You're going to see you get light right here. See how it went that way? And then you seen that beam. Okay, you see that? That's backwards. That's forward. And then boom. Okay? If anybody knows how to get a hold of Dutch, maybe he didn't see this part of it. I don't think he did, because he didn't show it in his stream. But I'll be interested to see his take on that. I really would. I hope that he sees that. You see how it does that? Now, that is, like I said, though, that I think that is the sun reflection, but I'm not sure why it's going from left to right. with the Earth rotating from left to right, the light reflections off of this stuff should actually be moving the other direction, if I'm correct on that. But regardless, even at that, even if it, right as that goes through there, boom, then you see that light. And then shortly thereafter, you see that one. So I went to the global sector here too, and I went up here and I clicked on this, and I was trying to find it on here and I'm not seeing it. Okay, you can see where the light itself takes off right here too. Look, see, you see the timestamp? Because it was picked up, I think, at 1900 UTC, roundabout, and then the other one was picked up a few hours later going the other direction. But I'm not seeing it getting picked up on this one. Okay, now what I haven't looked at yet, which is probably what's going on now that I think about it, this may not be the exact same time. Because think about it, if it's a beam, it's only going to be there like for one capture. It's not going to be there very long. So if these are looking at different time frames, like the timestamp itself is off by 30 seconds or something, it's probably not going to see it. That's probably might be what's going on here. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I would guess that's probably what we're seeing. Why we're not seeing it here on the global view. Because my mindset when I see stuff like that, I want to see if it happened anywhere else. And that's what I was doing. And but with me seeing it here and then going to this, well, I think that's the same one Dutch used, wasn't it? No, that wasn't the same one, because Dutch was in this far, if I'm correct. Yeah. I mean, I think he went out one view too and backed it out a little bit. Let's see here. That would be obviously the continent. I mean, I get it. But what I did was, if you guys remember, I went here and then I went down just a little bit further south just to see. And that's when it kind of blocked it off and I could see the light, that light anomaly. See? Right after that light anomaly comes through there, I'm pretty sure it's coming from the sun, the light itself. But why is it reflecting like that? And it looks to be going, I don't know if it's actually the wrong direction or not, guys. I'm not familiar with this tool very much, but for that to flash through there and then boom, you see that happen. It's, in my mind, it's almost related somehow. Like either they were trying to use that light to either mask what they were doing here, or it just was whatever was there was causing that sort of a reflection. And if this is actually coming from space, maybe that's what's going on there. I don't know. But, like I said, I have no way to get hold of Dutch. He probably doesn't really care about what I had to say about anything. But, that is something that I thought was interesting, that if anybody has any way to get that to him, maybe he can look at that. Maybe that'll add something to it. I'm not looking for any kind of credit, guys, at all. I don't care if you use my name or not. I'm just looking for the truth. You know what I mean? So, I would just like to know why. That's all. So, anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end it. Let me get you guys up here for a minute. You guys got any questions? Oh, wow. Look at that. The chat had to catch up. What's the timestamp on the backward beam? It's right before that big beam came. Okay? It's right. I do think it's probably the sunlight, but I'm not sure how the lights actually reflect off of this thing. Okay, guys? So let me say that first and foremost. I'm not sure, but it does look as though that something crazy is going on there. So, yeah. Hey, Madam. How you doing? Ain't seen you in a while. Darlene, Ducks, Camellia, K. King, Blake. You already watched Dutch? Yeah, for sure. Isaiah Granny, thank you for being here. Any other mods in here, I appreciate you guys. Ricky, good to see you. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say, guys. If anybody sees that, you can see where I'm, circling that around a little bit. If you say those three letters together or say that word, it immediately you can count on. Hey, Knowledge 2020, good to see you in here. Appreciate that. Rock Daniels, Amber Lee, good to see you guys. So yeah, guys, I am going to go ahead and end it though. I'm trying to keep these short for people that want to see the short ones. I might come back on a little bit later. Hey, thanks Nicole, I appreciate that, guys. She's got a channel, guys. Go check her out, Mad Mystic Skywatcher. Yeah, I think you've been doing a lot of live streaming, haven't you? Rip Curl, hey buddy, good to see you, man. Hey, good catch over there. Thanks for sharing that information from Marth. I really think that was really cool. Guys, he's the one that brought that over to Mark Spires, and that's how I seen it. With the, something I don't usually typically talk about with the Trump stuff and the, with him possibly being on a boat. Verte, hey buddy, what's up? Yeah, good to see everybody in here. I am going to go ahead and end it. I may come back here in about an hour or so and do another live stream. Not really sure. But I do want to respect people's time. I've been getting hammered for doing longer stuff here. And I'm trying to keep this update just to an update. But I still want to connect with you guys. Okay? But I do appreciate everybody that's here. Hopefully anybody that has any kind of access to Dutch or something, maybe send him an email or whatever. Ask him about that. Because I didn't see him show this view down here. This particular one we're looking at. I'm really curious about that. And again, you don't have to even use my name. I could care less about that, guys. I don't care. I don't need the recognition. That's not what I'm doing. Oh, thanks, Ricky. Actually, Ricky, we're kind of struggling, just to be honest. I'm not going to lie to you guys. My edema is extremely bad. My wife has to have surgery, get her gallbladder out. That's going to happen next week sometime. But, with all the COVID stuff going on, that just compounds things. There's so many things now that you have to do to even get any kind of surgery done. It's crazy. If anybody has been around that at all. But yeah, guys, I do appreciate you guys stopping in. So, God bless everybody. Yahuwah saves. And, hey, Wolf TV, good to see you, man. I'm going to give you a little shout out there. Go check them out. Zachary. Knowledge 2020. Brandy. I hate getting off here like this fast. It just doesn't feel right. Anyway, God bless. Yahuwah saves. And, you can drink this Kool-Aid.